Hey everyone, welcome to this video. Today I'm going to be going over my electronics, first aid kit, water filtration, and all the other kind of accessories that I brought on my thru hike of the Great Divide Trail. First, we'll start off with water. So I originally only started with two liters of water capacity here, so two 1 liter smart water bottles, and of course my water filtration kit here. So I ended up using the Canuck 2 liter bag with the Platypus quick draw filter. As you probably remember from my videos of the trip, that I'm not a huge fan of these Canuck bags because they're not very durable.
Well, I am convinced that Canuck makes garbage products. Look at this. Great water filter system, eh? Ridiculous.
So this is actually the third one, and it actually ended up lasting for most of the rest of the trip. I think the last half of it anyway. And I did buy this one brand new. So the first one I bought brand new for the trip failed on day 6. And the second one, which was like a patched version of one I had before, failed the following section. So now, I do say I had issues with this system, but I will say it's still one of the best systems for use with these kinds of filters. And the reason is because of this top opening. So there's this little slider that goes across, so you undo this, and you get this nice big opening to get water from. And this came in crucial for me in a few places on the trail where there was very low water, or a very small stream of water I needed to get, and it would have been practically impossible to get with a water bottle. So still one of the better systems. I just wish they were a bit more durable. I hear the newer ones they have now are supposed to be more durable, but I haven't really tested them. So, and of course you screw your filter on here. So, and I would always keep this this cap in one of my bags with me, just because if it was going to get below freezing one night, then I could take this, I'd seal up obviously this end, and this end already is sealed here. I throw this in my sleeping bag, and then it's not going to freeze if we were to get below freezing. So the other thing I started doing towards the end, and that I do very religiously now with this, is I try never to fill up this bag with the filter attached. I carry these separately. I will have this done up, I fill up the bag, and then I attach the filter. And the reason for that is because when I had one of these broken, I believe I was actually running into a lot of cross-contamination issues, because the water would be coming through the bag and into my water bottle, causing me to get sick. So when that happened right in the middle of section C, another hiker gave me one of these Sawyer squeeze systems, and I actually ended up carrying one of these and using that. And I also ended up throwing in a Platypus bag as well as kind of a backup. So I ended up carrying a couple extra bags just in case. And they, I don't regret doing that, just with the reliability issues that I did have with the Canuck system. So as I also mentioned with the water bottles, I ended up adding this 750 milliliter smart water bottle to my system very soon, after realizing this would be very handy to have. And I actually put this in the chest pocket on my backpack, so I could just drink out of this, and then throughout the trip, throughout the day hiking, take this out and just swap it for one of these, put it in here. These are a little big, kind of hit the face a little bit, but they weren't too annoying to me at the time. But I really liked this kind of 2 3/4 liter system. And then of course you could put some in the Canuck bag if you need to carry more than that. So you could carry up to 5 or 6 liters with this system, which is a lot of water, but there are some days where, or sections where that is necessary. All right, now we're gonna talk about the toiletries. So what I have here for kind of my poop bag, as you wanna call it, obviously toilet paper. I'm a toilet paper guy, hand sanitizer. Sometimes I keep this somewhere on the outside of my pack so I can just use it as I need it throughout the day. The Bogler trowel, which super lightweight, super awesome trowel, great for digging your cat holes with. Also very lightweight. And then the Sea to Summit Wilderness Wipes. I use these for my wet wipes on this trail. I love these things. I bought a whole bunch more for next year when they were on sale there. So then I would keep all that in just a large Ziploc bag. All right, kind of continue on with the toiletries trend a bit. This is kind of my toothbrush bag, I guess, if you want to call it. But I would actually keep my spoon in here because it fits just perfectly. This is not the a long-handled titanium one. This is just like that standard GSI gray spoon, not even the long-handled version. And the reason why I ended up with this spoon is because I forgot my spoon, which is going to be a long-handled titanium spoon on this trip. And I ended up having to pick this up in Waterton last minute to take on this trip. And it actually ended up working out. I liked it so much that I actually carried it for the rest of the trail. It is a little short for the long, you know, bags that the freeze-dried meals come in, but overall, it's a great little spoon and it's really lightweight. And I found, you know, it was good enough to get in there. All right, wouldn't be a toiletries bag without a toothbrush. So here's my toothbrush. This is just like a one by Gum. It's a foldable one. This one, it's kind of broken. I actually have a new one at home to replace this one, but you know, it snaps out like this. So you actually get like a nice longer handle to it, which is really nice. And then it just folds in and stores nicely in the bag. All right, here we have double bagged this oil of oregano. So, and I would keep this bag in my food bag at night, just because, especially because of the oil of oregano, because it really smells. But I would put this on like open cuts if I, you know, for infections and stuff, or if I wasn't feeling well, take some of this internally. I just have that in like one of these little dropper bags. You can, dropper bottles, and you can pick these dropper bottles up at either like Garage Grown Gear in the US or Gear Trade in Canada. So really handy little things to carry small amounts of liquid in. All right. I would have obviously just my standard vitamins, some Body Glide. So this ended up proving to be very crucial for me. So I was getting rubbing and chafing down in the crotch area, and I was like trying to switch different underwear up and nothing was working, and I ended up putting this on and it solved all my problems. So now I carry it on all my trips, but this was a lifesaver for me on the GDT. All right, here is a little container of powdered soap. So this is the Pika Outdoors powdered soap, great soap powder, so it's nice and light. And yeah, just keep it in this little like bottle here. Alrighty. I also in this bag will carry a lighter. This won't be my main lighter. As you've seen in a previous video, I keep my main lighter inside my Toaks titanium pot. So this is almost kind of a backup lighter. I actually have quite a few backup lighters, as I guess I always want to make sure I have fire. I actually think I'm carrying about 3 lighters carried 3 lighters on this trip. So yeah, this little mini Bic lighter in there. Some crazy glue in case you need to glue something up. Now this, you could argue, should be my first aid kit, but this is just extra KT tape that I have. I have actually some of my first aid kit as well, but just extra KT strips of KT tape. The super like waterproof stuff, because I sweat so much that it is applicable in the situation. A little tiny chap ice lip balm thing. And I would also carry some floss in here. So usually more than this, but yeah, carry floss for flossing my teeth at night and in the morning. And this is something I started carrying towards the end of the trip, but just some sea salt and a little scooper for it, and just to kind of keep the electrolytes up, keep the sodium up. So sometimes I take a little bit of this, sometimes I wouldn't. It just depended, but felt like my electrolyte supplements were giving me enough, and I would take some of this. All right, so yeah, that is pretty much it. Now this little bag here is Hartford Gear, just like your little, like, I don't know, medium zippered pouch made of Ultra 200 fabric. Great little piece. So yeah, that is my kind of toiletries bag. Another thing is toothpaste tabs. So I actually ran out on this trip, like these are my last one. So, but I carried in this little tiny plastic bag, and I'll throw a picture up of what those could look like. So, but yeah, toothpaste tabs for brushing my teeth, because then you can know the exact amount you want to bring versus bringing like toothpaste and it's heavier and you don't know how much you're going to use. Another thing that I took on this trip was a skin cream for like infections and stuff, because when I dealt with that back infection there at the end of section A, this was something that I started taking just to rub on that, rub on my back to try to help that heal faster. All right, gonna go through my other kind of repair slash toiletries bag. But so in here I got a bunch of paracord. So this is the Lawson paracord. I'll throw up the exact name of it, but great stuff. Love the color. I did use this to have to repair a few pieces, the cordage on my stakes or pulling them out of the ground. So good stuff. Also carry some little zip ties for gear repairs. Tenacious tape. I used that a lot on my 1/8 inch foam pad. Some kind of powder for helping clot wounds and whatnot. So some Rested Vital is what I believe it is. It's like a herbs, natural stuff. Extra water bottle cap for my water bottles in case I lose one. Another little gear aid repair kit with some seam sealer in it in case I needed to, you know, fix anything that's related to that. Also I bring little patches of tenacious tape as well. In this bag I also would have some pain relief cream that I would rub on my right ankle, as that was giving me some problems at some points during the trip. So just like a homeopathic one. So I'll take that, and then a few other like homeopathic things like arnica and whatnot, and I would have that on the trail as well as needed. One more zip tie. And that would just be stored in this little Ultra 200 zippered pouch. These are great. They're super lightweight and they're, you know, water resistant. So that's what I carried in this little pouch. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about is electronics. So this is my electronics bag. This is like a Mountain Laurel Designs bag, probably Dyneema. So first we're going to talk about headlamps. Well, let's open this up. Take a look. So you know what? We're going to start with the InReach. So InReach Mini 2, great for communicating back home, and the SOS obviously. So it's safety piece. Also, you don't got to charge it. It's electronics. This is the InReach Mini 2, so it has the USB-C port on it. And I went with like the unlimited plan for that particular trip, just because I was sending a lot of messages back and forth, and you know, getting medical advice and different issues I was having. So 100% would take this again. Love this piece of gear. I think every person backpacking should have something with an SOS function, whether it's a phone or one of these. I think these are better than having the phone because the phones are a lot more breakable than something like this. And these things are tough and, you know, better battery life. All right, now getting into the electronics. So I want to talk about this electronics bag and headlamps and flashlights. So this is the Rovion flashlight. I don't think I really like about this is it just clips right to your hat. You know, really simple. These things are way lighter than like a headlamp. This is what I took on the Great Divide Trail. I ended up doing a lot more night hiking than I originally planned on doing. So this actually ran out of battery pretty quick on like a 3-hour night hike. I ended up having to use my phone light while this was charging, which is not great when you're trying to see ahead, you know, to see where you're going or spot wildlife. So a great little piece, but not great if you're going to do a lot of night hiking, but good if you just need a light around camp and whatnot. So really like that thing. Speaking of headlamp, they end up switching out for this at some point, just because it better battery life for hiking it at night. And this is just the Nightcore NU25, the older version with the strap. I don't have the fancy shock cord. Super lightweight swap out right now, but you know, has a red light on it. It's a great little headlamp. It still is really light, not as light as this obviously, but if you need to do a bit more night hiking, this is the way to go. My AirPods in here for listening to, you know, music or podcasts or whatever. And then battery banks. So these are the Nightcore NB10000 battery banks. I have 3 of them. Most of the time I would only carry 2 on like the 5 to 6 day sections, but on the last section that was about 11 days, I carried all 3 of those. And this also kind of smaller monster one. It's just a smaller one. It has about milliamps is 1650. So, you know, it's kind of like my last resort battery bank in case I needed some extra power. All right. I would also carry in this one, I'd also have some earplugs. So I would have this in my tent, this bag in my tent at night. So I always knew I'd have earplugs if I needed them. Some GABA. This is just for like muscle relaxing, you know, stuff. And then cords. So I have my lightning cord for my iPhone. This is my special cord for my Garmin Fenix watch, which we'll get to in a minute. All right, then we have USB, like micro USB cable. So this I had to throw in for the headlamp because this still takes the micro USB. Unfortunately, everything else I have either takes a lightning or the USB-C. And then of course, the USB-C to USB-C anchor cable. I would also keep in here like my ID and some cash and whatnot that would just kind of sit in a little plastic bag in the bottom of this bag. And that's where I would keep that because I don't really need that much. So it just kind of sits in the bottom, nice and flat. It's my electronics there. Kind of along with my electronics, I also had the Garmin Fenix 7 Pro watch. I only had this for the last section, 2 sections after Jasper, but love this thing for tracking my stats. The mapping on this is okay, but I really like it for tracking like distances and whatnot. It was really good for that, and better than using the phone because it just eats the phone battery a lot. So really like this watch. All right, it's a little Joby tripod. So I carried this to do essentially all the filming, which I used my iPhone 13 Pro for. So a little clip, and I'll throw a picture of the metal clip that it sits on, screw onto here, and then I would just hold this out, and that's how I would essentially do all the filming I did on my trip. All right, now for the controversial piece. So this is the Flex Tail pump, mini pump. Most people know what knows what this is. This is to pump up your sleeping pad. I took this on the first section and I ditched it after the first section. Just not worth the wait in my opinion, and it looks dumb as a thru hiker, but I don't think that should deter you. But I just, like, when I had the back infection, I had to throw in all the extra medical supplies. Anything that was like a nice to have got left at home, and this was a nice to have. So great piece, love this piece of gear, but probably won't take it through hiking. So that is my electronics. All right, we're gonna talk about a few other kind of nuances here, but Leukotape. It took like a whole roll of this stuff. We almost went through the whole roll. I had a lot of blister issues on this trip. Was almost taping my feet every morning, retaping them to keep the blisters, from getting any worse than they already were. So yeah, Leukotape for sure. Kind of carries in a separate bag because so much of it. All right, a little cork massage ball. So this is something I also ditched after section A. Just find I didn't really use it that much. I just would use my bear spray or a trekking pole to roll out the muscles that I needed to. So great thing to carry. I do carry it on some trips, but for my thru hike, I decided to leave this out after section A. All right, sunglasses. So I also forgot sunglasses on this trip. And so I ended up having to pick up just some, $30 sunglasses here in Waterton where I was starting to hike. So yeah, they worked well. They, I don't really like to carry expensive sunglasses when backpacking because I don't want them to break, but good to have, and they worked out well. All right, also going to talk about this stupid thing. So this is a Compradel Cloud C3 pole piece. I originally brought this to roll things out with, and all that. I brought this on the first section. I did use it, but this is just dumb to carry this, in my opinion. At least that's the way it felt. And that, again, after I had to throw in extra medical supplies, I ended up ditching this and leaving it at home. And I don't regret leaving it behind. These were actually the poles I was going to take on the trip, but they broke the weekend before when they shouldn't have. So yeah, I ended up going with the black diamond cork aluminum ones instead. And of course, bear spray. So the Great Divide Trail is in bear country, pretty all of it is. So of course I carried a can of bear spray, having that accessible on the pouch on my left shoulder there. So yep, definitely would carry that again. All right, now to talk about my first aid kit. So we're gonna go through this piece by piece. All right, so first thing, some standard medical tape, a little bit of tube of Afterbite for dealing with bug bites, a clean roll of gauze, also should be 2 of these, just some latex gloves, emergency mini Bic lighter. Oh, so this is kind of like the backup to the backup for mini Bic lighters. Is 3 overkill probably, but that's what I did. waterproof matches. A couple fire starters. So these are, I'll throw up what kind these are, but I believe they're the Bushcraft branded ones. But anyway, they're, yeah, pretty good little fire starter. They're coated in like a wax-like thing to keep them waterproof. So if they get wet, you can break them open, and there's, you know, good fire starting material, like dry kind of cotton ball like stuff inside. See, painkillers. So I just like to take Advil for painkillers. I didn't really take hardly any on the trip, but had it there just in case. A little roll of duct tape. More arnica. Just like ibuprofen, another painkiller. More Advil. Z-Packs tick remover. So never had to use this, thankfully, but I did have it, and they're like super light. And I ordered it when I ordered my backpack from them. Okay, small little blade here. So it's like a little kind of derma safe knife, but great little knife in case I needed one, because they're super lightweight, very sharp. Kept that in there for emergencies. And then just a couple of bandages, so like, you know, band-aids and, you know, afterbite, and carried some water purification tablets in here for emergency in case my water filter completely failed, so I could still purify my water and not get sick. A couple of just different sizes of band-aids. And last but not least, some KT tape. So just to, you know, for any kind of injury or for keeping some bandaging on. This is like the swimmer waterproof stuff. So really good stuff. And then one thing in here that's actually should be in here that's not is my little Swiss Army mini multi-tool, which has scissors on it and a knife and like a little screwdriver, and I'll throw a picture of that up on the screen, what that all has. But essentially that was super handful for the scissors. So I would use those scissors to cut through the Luco tape and whatnot. So really useful little piece of gear. And last but not least, I want to talk about the bag. So this is like the little first aid bag by Space Bear Bags. We've made it a Dyneema, great little cool bag. So yeah, awesome. I'll have a link to that below in the description of the video. Hey everyone, welcome to this video. And as promised, I'm gonna go doing, hey everyone, welcome to this video. As promised, I'm gonna be, trying to bite my butt. Yeah, horseflies are nasty. Bandaging on. Yeah, the wind, stop.